It's been a while since I posted on this channel, and I wanted to take some breathing time over Christmas and New Year's just to kind of reevaluate things. And it's been a long time since I posted the first video about my feelings of loneliness. And I don't know, I thought maybe it was about time to provide an update and fill you in on what's been going on and what's been happening. So if I'm honest, though I don't like to admit it, I haven't been in a particularly good way for the last few months, and loneliness has probably been at its worst since, I don't know, for a long time. And it's a weird thing because my relationship with loneliness has changed. Like I don't mind my own company, but I think as a species we are designed to be connected. And when you feel like you're not capable of connecting with people, or that you feel judged, or whatever it might be, it causes you to isolate more. And then the more you isolate, the less you want to go out, and you end up in this kind of vicious cycle. And so when I first created that video, yes, I felt isolated and I felt lonely, but my job at the time, I was visiting people doing sales. So although I didn't feel that same level of real like social connection that you'd get from speaking to like a family member or a close friend, it was at least kind of scratching the itch of that need for socializing. And since that video, I've changed jobs and I work from home a lot more these days, and that's obviously caused me to isolate even more. And I used to think it was a really good thing working from home because you'd save a ton of time. Like my job, the office of my job is 1.5 hour, 2 hour drive each way. And so theoretically I'm saving like 4 hours a day of travel time. But it's definitely had an effect on my mental health and my sense of motivation and joy for life, I guess. And this really isn't an easy thing to do, to sit here and admit these things, because it's shameful. You know, people don't like to admit, men especially, don't like to admit that they have any weaknesses, and particularly that they need other people, but we all do. And the reason I'm making this video is because the last one was so helpful to so many people that I'm hoping that by opening up and talking about my plans going forwards to change, and hopefully documenting those changes, I'm going to inspire people more to come out and be more open about what's going on and be more genuine, and particularly for the men that are out there, but obviously for women too. So if you've followed my channel, you'll know that I had a construction project that was going on, and that's been going on for nearly 4 years, and it has been a big tether in my life. Like I've always been someone that wanted to travel the world, and I have been fortunate enough to travel to a lot of places, but I've always wanted to do one big adventure and go for, 3 months, 12 months, 6 months, like, I don't know, like just to get out there in the world and just experience life. And this project has always kept me anchored, has always kept me tethered to my life here in the UK. And there's just been constant delays for years now, and I've always said to myself that as soon as this project was finished, I was out of here, I was done. And a weird thing happened, because a week before Christmas, I finished the project. I had to take a lot of time off work to do it, but I got it finished. And I now have tenants moving in there this month, which means I've got an income from it. And I'm now finally in a position where I can go and travel, and I find myself hesitating and doubting my decisions to want to travel. And I guess there's a lot of fear there as well. And I feel like I'm a very different person to the man I was 4 years ago, the one that planned to do all these adventures and these travels. And I know deep down that I want to do them, but I guess in these 4 years I haven't spent enough time working on myself, and so I guess I've been kind of undermining my own confidence, and that's really been brought into the light recently when I actually suddenly have the opportunity and the freedom to go travelling. And I'm starting to doubt whether it's the right decision. And I know deep down in my gut that it is the right decision, because the thought of it scares me. And I feel like in life, if anything scares you, generally it's a sign that you should do it. With obviously a few exceptions, there's certain things you should be scared of. So it was a weird one. I finished the project, it must have been 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. And I told myself that I needed a few days of downtime before Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff. And so I took those few days of downtime, and I didn't do much at all. I sat there playing Xbox a lot. And I thought that I kind of needed that time to rest and regenerate. But in hindsight, what I was doing was avoiding the truth, avoiding taking the next step. And I think, to be honest, this construction project has been a convenient excuse for me to avoid doing the things that I know I actually need to do. And I did have a really helpful, not counselling session, but I guess like life coaching session with a guy who helped me to realise that like my biggest value in life is connection. And that's something that I know I really value, because the happiest times in my life have always been when I've been around people, regardless of what I'm doing or the circumstances, but as long as I'm around people sharing experiences with other people, those have been the happiest times in my life. And I've talked before about camping trips that I used to take for my birthday, and we would all get together, and it would be cheap, you're just paying for a pitch and a tent, but you'd sit around with a beer around a fire and just talk. And those were the happiest times of my life. And I think I've been burying my head in the sand a lot about that. And I've been trying everything I can to improve myself by, I don't know, like, I don't even know where to start, like getting in shape, like running, going to the gym, trying to get like my finances in order, and getting a new job in sales and earning more money, and buying things, a car, a gaming PC, like all those kinds of things. And all this time I've been ignoring my social life. And I've always known deep down that my social life has brought me the most fulfillment and joy. But I guess it's probably for me the scariest thing, the scariest problem I have to tackle, and it's the one I fear most. And none of these things have made any difference. I've been trying to convince myself that a lot of my problems come from, it might be like low testosterone or some medical condition, or perhaps it's like a vitamin or a mineral deficiency. And I have had countless blood tests, probably 50, maybe slightly less, but I don't know. I've given a lot of blood in tests, and I've had almost everything checked. And I have tried medical interventions, so I have tried different types of antidepressants and things like that. I have tried different diets. I have spent probably thousands on supplements, vitamins and minerals on Amazon. And none of these things really make any difference. And if I really zoom out and observe my life as a whole, I can draw a direct correlation between my levels of happiness and the time I spend around good people. And yeah, I guess Christmas and New Year's are always a very difficult time when you feel lonely, because it is a reminder of how you feel, because it seems at least like everyone else is happy and is spending time with their loved ones and enjoying it. And whether you have people in your life or you don't doesn't seem to make any difference if you're feeling lonely. You know, you can feel lonely when you're surrounded by people, you can feel lonely when you're married. You can feel the loneliest people live in big cities where there's the most people. It makes no sense. So loneliness is a perception, I guess. And when you're going through a period where it seems like everyone is experiencing that love and connection, it amplifies your sense of loneliness. And I think that's really what happened to me. So I had this kind of culmination of knowing that a project I'd been using as an excuse was coming to an end, and I no longer had that excuse to hold on to, and realizing that none of the changes I've made over the last few years have really made a difference. And now I'm going to have to face up to the truth that the only thing that's going to make a difference is to improve my social life. And that's not easy, or at least it doesn't seem easy. You know, when you're a kid, it's so simple. You just walk up to someone and you're like, you want to be my friend, and that's it. You've made a lifelong buddy. But especially when you get older, sort of, I guess mid-20s onwards, it's harder to find new people, and you're much more hesitant to open up and be vulnerable around people. And I understand the irony of making this admission online on YouTube in front of potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, but it feels entirely different talking to a camera than looking into someone else's eyes and admitting that you're not feeling right. And it's hard. But like any rough time I have in my life, I'm always grateful for it in hindsight, because there are lessons to be learned in these really dark times, and you need the dark in order to see the light. You need perspective. And so I needed that downtime, I guess. Even though I didn't feel good at the time, I think I needed that time to feel shit. So I knew how to feel good, if that makes sense. And I've decided that I am going to start making some changes, and I'm going to start making them in areas that are going to have the highest leverage. You know, I can improve my vitamin D level, or eat less carbs. I don't know, but ultimately they may make me feel 1 or 2% better, but being around good people is going to make me feel a hell of a lot better. And I think that's the same for a lot of us. We like to put the blinders on and pretend that our biggest problems aren't our biggest problems. And we like to focus on issues that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And that's what I've been doing. So 2024 is going to be a massive year of change for me, because one of the biggest changes I am going to be making is that I am going to be moving country. And I don't know how long for, but back in 2020, when I first started my construction project, before that even, there was one country in particular that I had always wanted to visit. And my granddad was from that country, and I've got lots of distant relatives in that country, and I grew up hearing loads of stories about it, and I've never actually been. And so I'm fortunate enough to have Canadian citizenship, which means then that I can go out there and I can stay for as long as I want, and I can work. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going in March. And I guess I'm seeing it as a kind of fresh start in a way. I feel like one of the happiest I felt and the most in touch with myself I felt is when I came back from a trip to India, which I went to, which I travelled to in 2020, I think it was. I got back just as the lockdown was kicking off, and I hadn't realised, but I'd really got myself into this rut with my old job, and I was so uninspired. And going to India just kind of brought out this side of me that I'd forgotten existed, and I was far more positive, and I wanted to connect with people. I didn't want to isolate or be on my own. And it was really bloody unfortunate that that is exactly what I had to do when I got back, as did the whole world. But it just reminded me that there is a version of myself that I forget about, and it's a version of myself that I quite like. And the life I've built for myself at the moment doesn't encourage that version of me to come out. And I know that going traveling, it's so difficult to be stuck in your own head when you travel, because there's so much new stuff around you. And I guess that novelty forces you into the present. And when you're in the present, I guess you're more connected with like who you really are as a person. And when you get stuck in a routine, it's so easy to go on autopilot. You think of like brushing your teeth in the morning, right? Can you remember brushing your teeth this morning? Like nobody does, because it's so habitual. It's on such autopilot for all of us that we don't remember doing it. And so if we build lives of complete habit, if we wake up at the same time, we do the same thing every morning, we do the same job, we see the same people, and we do the same things in the evenings, it can get really habitual to the point where your life almost feels like it's a bit of a dream. Like if you ever feel that time is just flying past, it's because, at least I think, it's because you're living your life habitually and you're not living in the present. And so going traveling forces you to be in the present. So yeah, I'm going to Canada in March, and I am bloody terrified, if I'm honest, but it's something that I have to do, and I know that. And so that gives me, from now until March, I haven't booked the tickets yet, so I don't have an exact date, but that gives me from now until that point to build some money up, so I've got some reserves to take with me, and to work on myself in the areas that are important. So, for instance, tonight there is a men's group that I'm going to, and the idea of going to that scares the shit out of me, but it seems like quite a supportive community, and you've got to take the first step somewhere, and it's easier maybe to reach out to a community that is based around men's mental health and that has more understanding of that kind of stuff than going to a new group full of people that that isn't their main focus, I guess. But yeah, so I'm going to that this evening, and that's the first step. And I plan on just making my life more social, so doing more things with more people. I'm also going to revisit CBT, and that's something that I found really, really helpful, especially for social anxiety. And the reason that's so helpful is because I think so many of the actions that we take and the things that we do are based on these beliefs that we have in our heads. And sometimes those beliefs have been there for so long that we just take them to be a given. We just believe them to be true. And there is nothing to say necessarily that they are true other than our belief in that. And I think when it comes to social anxiety, we feel threatened or scared in some way of, I don't know, maybe it's being embarrassed or doing something stupid in front of people, or being made a fool of, or there's many different reasons you can have social anxiety. But when you've had these beliefs in your head for so long, that you don't challenge them anymore. You just think they're normal. And if you believe they're normal, you're going to act like they are the truth. And from the rare moments I've had in life where I've opened up to people and I've been myself, I've actually found most people are very warm and welcoming. But for some reason I have this belief stuck in my head that that's not how people are. And so CBT is really useful to help you firstly identify what those thoughts are that are causing you to be in this position, and then to go out there in the world and experience that, and then to come back and reflect on it and to see if those beliefs are true or not. And more often than not, you'll find that those beliefs aren't true, and that's really liberating in a way. So yeah, there's going to be a lot going on for 2024. I've got the next few months of preparing for this trip, and then I am moving out to Canada. I don't know, it's a very big place. I don't know if I'm going to start in the West Coast or the East Coast, but I'm currently doing my research on that one. And obviously, if any of you guys are from Canada, then I would welcome your suggestions too. But that's my update, really. So I really wanted this channel, especially, I think it's nearly 2 years, 3 years on from that initial first video that I posted. I really wanted this channel to be an inspiration for people, and to see that how far I've come in those 3 years and how you can do it as well. But the reality is I've spent the last 3 years focusing on a lot of the wrong things and convincing myself that they were the right things. So 2024 is a year of focusing on the right things, and that includes this channel as well. So I want to keep this channel updated with my progress, what's going on, and it's going to be tough because obviously I'm having to work to save for Canada. So I would like to do something with this channel in a way to monetize it. Like, the channel is monetized, it's got over 1,000 subs, and I'm earning a little bit of money off it, but it's nothing to survive off. And I don't know, I'm thinking maybe to create some kind of like community, some like membership. I don't know, these are all just like thoughts that are going around in my head, but it would make it a lot easier for me to continue with these videos if I had some kind of financial incentive and I didn't have to work as much to save, because then I could take this channel out with me to Canada and share my progress and all of those things. So I don't know, I'm just talking shit now. I feel like I've shared my main point. The point is that 2 years on, 3 years on from that initial video, there's not been a lot of change, and that's not an easy thing to admit, that you were wrong and that you're still feeling lonely, but that is the truth. And this year I'm going to do something about it. So keep posted on this channel. Keep me updated with your progress and what your goals are for 2024, and hopefully we can help each other. Thanks.